Hello and welcome to the video. This is my quick look and overview and review of this thing here. This is the RadioMaster T8 Pro.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Now,
Warning.
this is their latest little version of the T8. This one, of course, as you can see, has the screen. On the screen is all the navigation buttons and also
Trim center.
the trims as well. Now, there is a lot to like about this radio. This is incredibly cheap, and I think as a hobby we just need to take a moment to recognize how much radio you can get for this kind of money. At the moment this is listed on places like Banggood for about £46, which is absolute buttons. Now, there are some limitations with the form factor. It's pretty clear that RadioMaster was kind of working to get this to a price point, and it's missing some of the things that I would love to see on a smaller radio of this size, which different people have done in this kind of game controller form factor. So it's not really going against things like the T-Lite. It's more aimed at people like the stuff from Beta FPV and that kind of stuff. But if you only want to use FreeSky and a handful of other protocols, and you're only going to be flying relatively close in park environments, and you don't mind about having an external module, this is quite a cute way to do it. Or maybe you're interested in having a second radio for maybe some training with a friend or one of your children or whatever to teach them to fly. This even has a trainer port on it. So let me just go through and show you what's in the box. There isn't a lot, and talk about the specs. So again, this is the T8 Pro transmitter, weighs about 266 grams, an internal battery. It has an RF module. It's the multi-protocol module, but it's only the single chip one, the same as we got in the TX12, so it's only the CC2500. Now that's only going to give us things like FrSky, FHSS protocol, RadioLink, Rampner, and a couple more. It isn't going to give us the full range, and it's a shame because having things like the Spectrum DSM protocol would have been really nice in a little radio like this. Transmission power is 20 dBm, the antenna gain is 2 dB, the range it's saying over 1 kilometre, but it is an internal antenna in this, it's kind of hidden away, so I would only really trust it for park environments. I haven't flown it any further than that. I wouldn't want to, just because if you want to fly further away, there are bigger, more expensive radios that you can go to. The battery inside is the 3.7 volt 1000 milliamp hour lithium battery. Charging is actually done, if we take a bit off the top, there's a number of ports here on the top. One of them is a USB-C style charging port. There's also a trainer port in here, and there's room for the SD card, and there's also the blank here for DIY antenna mods if you really want to go that route. Big difference here over the earlier versions of the radio is this is now 16 channels versus 8, and this little screen on the top is a little 128 by 64-bit LCD. The kind of resolution on this little thing is the same as what you get on the things like the FreeSky QX7, that kind of size, but it is a lot smaller. The screen itself is clips on like you would clip on a module onto the back. Unfortunately, this isn't a module bay. You can't put your tracer or your crossfire or any of those modules onto here. It isn't supported. There are some cute tricks though on here if you want to make it nice and comfortable. These are actually little flip out thumb rests. They're actually quite tricky to get out, but if I grab something pointy, these do actually flip out on the back and make it nice and easy to hold. It's probably nicer for a thumber, which is, let's be honest, the kind of style that this radio is aimed at as well. If you're used to holding something like an Xbox controller, it's perfect. I find it nice to hold with that in between these two fingers, because it puts your thumbs in perfect position and your fingers are right in place for these switches. It's a 2-position switch, a 3-position switch, a 3-position switch, and a 2-position switch. No momentaries here, and these smaller stubby switches, although don't feel as nice as a longer switch, do work quite nicely, and it's easy to get your fingers to them when you're holding the radio. Turn it on, press and hold the power button. You get a nice indicator down here that it's charge level, so you can see exactly how much you've got to go, which is great for an internal battery. You want to be charging this before you go to the field, and then you can use it all day. Again, trims are up here, which isn't great if you're flying a plane. This is definitely, although it's got the trims up here, I would say aimed more at multi-rotor pilots or fixed wing models that have a flight controller inside. If you think about how much this is costing, this is quite a lot of radio for the money. Normally for that kind of money we'd be getting a horrible plasticky dumb radio. This is also supported by OpenTX, so you can transfer your models onto here, or maybe you can start out with a simple radio like this for your first models with maybe FrSky receivers. And then when you're ready, move up to something like a TX16 and move all the models across using Companion. I do like the folding backlit screen. I wish it sat flat. It actually doesn't. So I wish that was a little bit nicely designed, because I'm always worried about it getting damaged, because there isn't a case, as you saw when it unpacked it, and it does catch the buttons if it accidentally falls down. It is a little bit loose. It does feel a little plasticky, but we'll get onto the negative things in a minute. Obviously USB charging is very nice. The adjustable height sticks feel okay, although they will work for pinchers. I think for thumbers it is absolutely beautiful, particularly if you pop out those supports at the back for the fingers. Just wish they had a slightly more tactile way to get them out at the field. That just feels like it isn't quite finished. The volume is good. The lanyard support actually works nicely as well, so you can dangle it from the lanyard if that's the way your cookie crumbles. And although it has the trims up here, again, then in a less than ideal place if you're going to be flying a plane, particularly with FPV and without a flight controller. You know, that's kind of in completely the wrong place to get to set everything up and trim it. So in terms of the things that I draw your attention to, there are a few. First of all, of course, is the screen is connected on the back as though it was a module. This is not a module bay. You can't use it as a module bay. It's dedicated for this. Bit of a shame that it would be good to have another port on the back. I'm guessing all these things are designed to keep the price point as low as possible. The plastics are okay. It does feel a little bit plasticky, but then what do you expect for about £46? Limited switches on the top, just 2 3 positions and 2 2 positions. That's enough for your kind of your arming switch, your modes, maybe a return to home, maybe an auto tune or auto trim button. So there's just enough. But if you're just going to be using this for smaller models, park fly stuff, you shouldn't be in a situation very often where you're going to run out of switches. Again, you can always repurpose things like the trims in OpenTX to do other stuff if you really want to. Again, only the CC2500 RF chip in here, so it's not the full 4-in-1 multi-protocol module, so only a limited support. I would tend to use this with things like FrSky receivers. Built-in battery, so make sure it's charged before flying. It is nice that it does actually show you exactly the charge level when you power it up. Nice to see that kind of JR style 5 buttons, but I'm getting, you know, playing with it at the field for about a day. I'm easily getting a day out of it, so that's not too bad. No SD card included, although it's easy to download the files from the website, pop it in, and then you get all of the nice audio stuff. The volume isn't bad either. It's nice and easy to hear. Even though there isn't a port for the speaker on here, it's still easy to hear what the radio is saying. And again, on mine, the screen is just a little bit too floppy. I am worried about this getting damaged. It would be good if it had some kind of foam here or something, so as it was down and it didn't have that kind of movement. But overall, this is pretty impressive for the money if you can live with those limitations. If you're not bothered about the fact it's only got one chip in here, so you're only limited to things like FrSky, FHSS, RadioLink, Rampner, HOT, and a couple of others, then it's actually not bad. Personally, I think this is quite a funky little radio if you want to use it with something like a simulator on your PC, or if you want to have a second radio to maybe teach somebody to fly. Because it's got the trainer port on the top, you can just plug the cable into here, into whichever radio that you're using, or potentially use this bound to something like a TX16 and have a wireless trainer set up as well, which could be really cute, particularly because a lot of younger pilots that I'm getting involved with these days are coming from that Xbox, PlayStation background, where this kind of controller feels very, very, very familiar to them. So that's my quick overview of the T8 Pro. It is a lot of radio for the money, but there are compromises to get it down to that price point. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that, if you're trying to learn a topic, will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.